Are you Matthew Aldridge?
I'm the attorney of fact for Matthew Aldridge.
You were what?
The attorney of fact.
Attorney what?
Of fact.
Attorney of fact. And what does that mean?
His authorization and his legal representation.
Are you a licensed attorney?
No, I'm simply an attorney of fact.
Okay. And does that mean you have a power of attorney? What is your name? What is your name?
All right, here's what happened in court today. It was definitely out of the ordinary. A man showed up for a hearing under the name Matthew Aldridge, at least according to the official records. But when he stepped up to speak, he claimed he didn't have a legal name at all. Instead, he said he was acting as the attorney of fact, a term that has no real legal standing in court. This is a common tactic used by a group of people who believe the legal system doesn't apply to them. But the reality is simple. If you're in the court's jurisdiction, the law applies. The judge stayed calm and listened, but she wasn't buying any of it. In the end, she gave a clear, no-nonsense response that completely shut his claims down. It was a solid moment of the court standing firm and sticking to the law. Now, let's take a closer look at how it all went down.
My name?
Yes, sir.
I don't have.
You don't have a name? Pardon?
I'm the attorney of fact for the respondent in the area.
Well, let me explain to you. Only an attorney at law can stand in court and represent a criminal defendant. And to do so otherwise violates the criminal law statutes of the state of Tennessee and could land someone who attempts to represent themselves as an attorney at law in serious trouble. I understand what you're saying. I understand you're saying an attorney in fact. And what I want you to understand is that if you have a power of attorney, then you need to demonstrate that power of attorney. Do you have a legal document called a power of attorney?
No, I do not this time.
Okay. Then you don't have any authority to act on behalf of Matthew Aldridge in this court. You have no legal authority, nor do you have any authority through a legal document to represent or to act on behalf of Matthew Aldridge.
Why don't the court just let me file this document?
Show it to the bailiff and he'll show it to me. Apparently there's a copy here.
Now here's where things got even more unusual. The man called himself an attorney of fact and handed the judge a document to back it up. You didn't see that part on screen because it happened pretty slowly, but the paper he gave her wasn't based on any real law. It was just something he printed out with made-up legal terms, trying to prove he could speak on behalf of Matthew Aldridge. Let's clear this up. Real attorneys must be licensed by the state and follow official legal rules. You can't just create your own paperwork and call yourself someone's legal representative. But people who use this approach often try to argue that the court doesn't have authority over them. The truth? That argument never works. Courts rely on real, established laws, not documents made at home. And this judge didn't entertain it. She stayed professional, kept the hearing on track, and didn't let it turn into a circus. Honestly, it makes me wonder, are these kinds of cases actually becoming more common, or am I just noticing them more lately? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments.
Right. Well, I find that Matthew Neal Aldridge has failed to appear personally in this court for the plea day on his case, which was set for trial tomorrow. And as a result, you have no standing, sir, under what I know what you're trying to do is to try to use the sovereign citizen approach to this situation. And I'm simply telling you that you do not have the right to represent Matthew Neal Aldridge. If you are in fact Matthew Neal Aldridge, then you need to say so and stop this nonsense, because what you're attempting to do has no legal effect. You cannot challenge the criminal law or the jurisdiction of this court by simply filing some legal mumbo jumbo having to do with civil litigation. That has civil litigation in it. It is not a criminal case that you have cited. So it has no effect on this court regarding the criminal statutes of this court. This court is empowered under the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the state of Tennessee, and by the duly elected citizens of Cheatham County to empower and enforce the laws of the state of Tennessee. And that is what I'm going to do regarding Matthew Lynn Aldridge. Mr. Aldridge is set for today to appear in court personally on what we call our last plea day before his trial date tomorrow.
Is that an article pre-trial?
To what?
Would that be an article pre-trial? A trial by jury with jury?
It would be a trial by jury, certainly it would be. But I don't know who you are. And I don't think you have any authority if you are not Matthew Lynn Aldridge to appear before this court. And you are wasting valuable time to all of these other citizens who are here today. So when I'm talking, you stop talking. No, you will when I'm finished talking. You are wasting the court's time by doing this, and I'm just simply instructing you that if you are in fact Matthew Lynn Aldridge, then this is your last day to settle your case. The trial date is set for tomorrow, and unfortunately it will not go forward because of the fact that I have a conflict and I have to be in Stewart County on a civil matter. So we're going to assign a new trial date for Matthew Lynn Aldridge. All right. To Matthew Aldridge and the individual standing before me whose name must not be uttered.
The judge in this case really handled things with calm and professionalism. From the start, he stayed focused and didn't let any of the man's arguments throw him off. As soon as the man brought up that attorney of fact claim, the judge immediately explained why it didn't hold any legal ground. You could tell this wasn't the judge's first time dealing with something like this. It felt very familiar to him, like he'd seen these arguments before. At one point, when the man refused to say his own name, the judge called it out and even gave a quick smile. Judges usually keep a straight face, so that small reactions stood out and said a lot. Right from the beginning, it was clear the judge wasn't going to let this turn into a spectacle. And in the end, the case was a reminder that these types of legal tactics just don't work. The court sticks to real law, and it showed.
Then we will set a July 15th trial date for Mr. Aldridge. Whatever this document is that you have filed is in fact invalid because it does not cite any valid criminal statute, and therefore I'm denying whatever that might be in the way of a motion. The trial date will be July 15th. The last day for Mr. Aldridge to enter a plea or go to trial will be July the 8th. July the 8th. Now, we're going to give you a card. If you are in fact Matthew Aldridge and you're just playing games with the court regarding this nonsense that you filed, then you may get this card and you may go on about your business. If you are not Matthew Aldridge, then I would suggest to you, you relay to Mr. Aldridge that he must appear on July the 8th, or a bond revocation will take place, and his case will be will take place with him in jail, incarcerated on the 15th. That's the judgment of the court. You need to take your piece of paper and go on about your business.
Sovereign citizens are a group of people who believe they can step outside the legal system just by refusing to recognize the government's authority. They often mention things like common law or the Uniform Commercial Code, but it's clear they don't fully understand how those laws actually work. To be clear, courts in the US follow federal, state, and local laws that are based on the Constitution. These aren't new or optional. They've been the foundation of our legal system for a long time. There's no loophole that lets someone decide the law doesn't apply to them. Still, some individuals bring these kinds of arguments into court. Most of the time, it doesn't lead to anything helpful, just a wasted day, and in some cases, new legal trouble. Legally speaking, it all comes down to jurisdiction. Courts have the authority to hear cases involving anyone in their area, no matter what legal theory someone brings in. Judges have heard these claims many times, and they don't work. Trying to get out of paying taxes or avoiding a traffic ticket using these strategies usually backfires, and it can lead to even steeper penalties for wasting the court's time. Team my name's end worse. The end? I'm not sure why people keep trying this. Maybe they think they're challenging the system, or maybe it's just a way to push back. Either way, it doesn't help their case, and it often just makes things worse. That's it for today's breakdown. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe, and feel free to share your thoughts on the sovereign citizen movement in the comments. Thanks for watching, and take care.